Hello and welcome. This is my work in progress video for my entry of the competition or challenge of the month from the Girl with Jazza channel. This challenge was called Pimp My Classic. What we had to do is find a picture that was at least 150 years old and then modernize it, essentially using like pop culture or just culture in general from anywhere from the 80s onwards. So at first my plan was to try and find a picture with like a bunch of people doing stuff and turn it into like a rave party, and I couldn't find one that had people positioned in a manner that I felt I could use that didn't have cats photoshopped into it. So I ended up coming across this one, which is called Love in Spring by some Austrian dude, Zikia or something like that. And basically took these, I don't even know what era they would be, but these very whimsical characters and made them goth and grunge punks. Because I personally love the goth aesthetic and culture. So, I mean, when I can actually dress the way I want to and I'm not stuck at work, that's actually what I wear. So, but yeah, so that's what I was doing. So it's kind of like, still loving spring, but with gothy people. But I wanted to try and keep to the more whimsical feel of it, the very, smooth painting kind of thing. So I didn't want to use line work, which I rely very heavily on my line work, especially when it comes to people. So it was interesting trying to figure out how to do everything. I was just going to try and put everything on one layer and literally just try to paint it out, and it didn't work too well. So I did my rough outline and used it as like a guideline, and for the people did individual layers so that I could get everything laid down and mapped out with flat color for all three of them, and then on separate layers for other things. For the different background pieces, I also did flat color, just blocking everything out as well as I could, merged it all together, and then did all the shading and refining from there. I did have a little bit of trouble with this girl and with the girls in general, just because I was trying to go for the more goth punk aesthetic, but I wanted to keep to the colors that they originally had, so they're like in bright yellow and white. So I was like, what do I do? So I added in like the lace and the cross with the flowers and stuff, and desaturated the color a little bit, and that worked for her. And then with the other girl, I kept with the white and a very light gray theme, because there is actually this thing that's referred to as neo-goth, which is where instead of predominantly black, you actually wear predominantly white, but the style is still basically the same. I think neo-goth is the one I want. I'm pretty sure it is. If I'm wrong, correct me. But yeah, I'm really happy for what it is, for what I was doing, with how it turned out. It did turn out actually better than I was hoping it would. Will I ever attempt to do something like this again? Probably not. And if I do, I'll probably try to do it in a slightly different manner. I like my line work. I'm gonna say that. But no, I like how it turned out. I'm pretty happy with the result of it. Trying to figure out how to get certain things to work the way I wanted to was a little bit difficult, like trying to get the shading without it looking muddied. I did end up using a technique I've used on other pictures where I did have line work, and working with that in a slightly different manner than I had before, just to make sure it worked. But I did ended up sorry, words. Ended up messing a few bits up, like on his shoulder and the white dressed one's arms. I didn't put enough midtones in between the highlights and the shadows, so they ended up they didn't blend well. When I was blocking out the background pieces of it, I kind of had to make up for the fact that I altered their clothing a lot. And the one guy has like the cape blowing in the wind. But I knew, after I started blocking it out, I realized pretty quickly that I was not going to be able to make the background look exactly like the original background, which was okay. Just wanted to be able to keep it as close to as I could, and I feel I did a fairly good job with that, just kind of reinterpreting from the blocking out that I did. I did have a bit of trouble with the water, and I really heavily relied on the original picture for that, with a few very slight changes. But yeah, for never having done a lot of this before, I've never done a complete picture without any line work whatsoever in the finished product. So for what it is, I think it turned out very, very good. But yes, trying to get it to blend at the end without it looking blurry was a bit hard. And then the last thing that I did in the picture was take it from being like this early morning, very soft yellow, to making it this nighttime, the moon is glowing deep blue. So that was fun. I played around with that for a while. But yeah, overall, I didn't really use any kind of pop culture or anything like that, because I didn't feel like it fit very well this guy's lips. I'm just his lips, I don't like them, they're bad. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So, I mean, I don't know, like, how well I actually kind of stuck to what it's supposed to be. I mean, we're supposed to pimp it out. I mean, I guess we weren't like, it wasn't like required that we use a ton of pop culture or anything like that. It's just, we have to, from what I gathered of what he was saying in the challenge videos, we just have to modernize it with culture from present day, and I feel I did that. The idea I had behind the alteration to it was, they just got engaged, so they're taking their, romantic at nighttime pictures of, look at us, we're engaged, and this is like their grungy friend who's also a photographer, and yeah, that was the idea behind the pictures. They're getting engagement photos, essentially. I had a bit of trouble with the lace on her shirt, but I think it turned out pretty good. It's not exactly what I pictured in my head, but considering I've never really drawn lace before, I think I did a decent job. But yeah, I don't have too much else to say, so I'll just let you watch the drawing. Oops. Like I had said earlier, I knew I wasn't going to be able to match the background completely, but I still wanted it to look close-ish and filled. I didn't really want it to end up just being this massive color around them, so I did try to add detail to it as much as I could without, but I still wanted the focus of the picture to be on the people. So I didn't like go in like real close and make all of these super tiny detail bits to the surrounding areas. I wanted it to stay kind of loose and keep that whimsical look. And I like how the flowers ended up sort of having this glowy aura around them because it worked with what I did later on when I was putting in the nighttime effects. But yeah, I was just trying to keep everything close to the original, but still revamp it a little bit. So there's a lot of just little, mainly it's just using lights and darks in order to get the small details I wanted without going in and being overly complicated. It took a bit of tweaking and messing around in order to get the coloring I wanted. I did try to get sort of a twilight feel, but it was just turning out really pink and red and saturated, and it just didn't look good. So I did keep it as the moon glow, and put a bit of a spotlight on the girl in white, just because she is in white, so it would reflect the light. I also made the flowers light up a little bit more. And, yeah, just playing around with effects, adding in a few extra shadows and highlights on another separate layer, and then, you know, little touches like the thing with the camera. And, yeah, this is the finished piece. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. It did come out a lot better than I had thought it would. And, you know, just for comparison, the original versus my version of Love in Spring. And that's the end of the video. So I'll see you next time.